Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday Dharma service. And a special welcome to those of you joining us for the first time. We will begin the service with the ringing of the kansho, followed along with the chanting of Jusege. You could use the purple service book in front of you, page 93, or follow along on the screen.
Namandas, 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 namandas. 가곤조세이가 희시무저도 시가흐만도 세구저쇼가 야오무려고 의다이세슈 사이쇼빙의 세구저쇼가 다시저문너 묘쇼조지뻐 教未書もセク上昇が翌人少年上映主本業シグム浄土一生天にし人力現代語無所無才道少女三苦名交際集約な回避知恵下熱し根もあ即小悪道不脱伝衆も高層上万度異様老実法日月主樹期天候音符下異種解放道公正苦毒法上大集中説法四式よ一切部無足習得法断念出場魔特異三害用妙物無下知不脱未不詳安楽営利司祭所尊志願若国家大戦王感動国書天に神妙家ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがにしくどく平等性祭本菩提心往生安楽国何万達何万達何万達何万達何万達何万達何万達何万達
Okay. We will now have the reading of Three Treasures and Sankyemon.
Please join me with palms together in reverence as we recite the three treasures. Hard is it to receive a human form. Now we have received it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma. Now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in this life, in what life shall we do so? Let us reverently take refuge together in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. Together with all beings, may we attain the great way of enlightenment, awakening to the supreme intent of the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. Together with all beings, may we enter the storehouse of Dharma, acquiring wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. Together with all beings, may we become united at the great assembly, being free of all bondage. Hard is it to encounter the supreme, profound, and wondrous Dharma, even in 100,000 million kalpa. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true intent of the Tathagata. Sankyemon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasude ni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasude ni kiku. Konomi konjo ni mukatte dosezun ba, sarani izure no shou ni mukatte ka konomi o dosen. Daishu moro tomo ni shishi ni sanbo ni kieshi tate matsuru beshi. Mizu kara butsu ni kieshi tate matsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni daido o taigeshite mujoi o okosan. Mizu kara ho ni kieshi tate matsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni kaku kyozo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. Mizu kara so ni kieshi tate matsuru. Masa ni negawaku wa shujo to tomo ni daishu o tori shite issai mugen naran. Mujo jinjin mimyo no ho wa 100,000 万語にもあようことかたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくは如来の真実義を下し立て祭らん。南無阿弥陀仏、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、
All right, now Reverend Umezu will deliver her Dharma message.
If you could please join me once again with hands together in reverence as I read words from the Sutra of Immeasurable Life. In this way, such people in the world are all the same at heart. They are ignorant and foolish, and yet they think themselves wise. They do not know from where life comes or to where death leads. Neither merciful nor tolerant towards others, they act against the way of the world. Namandap, namandap, namandap. Well, good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good? It's great for me to be back. I know we've been back for this is our third week back, but this is my first time to give a message for this fall season. So thank you to all of you who have been joining us, and I would like to offer a special welcome to anyone who's here for the first time, either in person or on Zoom. Thank you very much all for taking the time to be here to listen to the Nembutsu teaching with us today. The passage that I've just read comes from the sutra that we regard in our school as most highly, and again, it is the Sutra of Immeasurable Life. In this sutra, Shakyamuni Buddha clarifies the qualities that Amida Buddha, the Buddha of immeasurable wisdom and compassion, the qualities that Buddha embodies, as well as the qualities of everyday unenlightened lay people. The passage that I've just shared is one that is expressing the characteristics of unenlightened lay people. Buddha is expressing what he observed of those who were living in the everyday world during his time. He describes people as thinking of themselves as wise people, even though they don't fully understand where life comes from or what happens after we die. In other words, he is saying that people act like they know the truth, but they don't. He further describes people as not being forgiving or tolerant of others and acting against the true nature of the world. Again, in other words, he was expressing how people act based on their own interests and understandings, as opposed to in a way that is in accordance with the true way of the world. As you know, Shakyamuni Buddha lived and taught about 2,500 years ago. And this sutra was recorded in written form probably about 2,000 years ago. This means that 2,500 years ago, Buddha saw people like this. And 2,000 years ago, the Buddhist masters and monks still concurred that this was the way of people during their time. They too saw truth in these words, which is why they kept them even 500 years after Buddha was living. But for us today, can we find truth in these words, even 2,000 years later? Do we relate to these words as lay individuals today? Or do we think that we've grown as a people and that was just how people were in the ancient days? To illustrate how I appreciate what Buddha was trying to teach us, I would like to share some personal stories with you today. I would first like to ask, how many of you have seen or at least heard of the movie Jaws? Yeah, okay, great. So I hope I'm not spoiling the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it, but you've had 40-something years, so it's not really my fault. But the town community that is thrown into fear and chaos because a couple people in their community were killed by a great white shark that was swimming off of the shores of their town. Out of fear and anger, a group of people from the community go out to sea and try to capture and kill the shark. So that's the general plot of the movie. So for my personal anecdote, some years ago, my mom was telling me about how when my parents first met each other in the 70s, they had gone to see the movie Jaws with their friends. Everyone in the friend group was, of course, scared of the shark and rooting for the humans to get the shark. But my father, who happened to come from a Buddhist family in Japan, he was the only one out of the group who was concerned for the shark. My mother had told me that he had said, "Why is everyone getting upset with the shark? The shark is just being a shark, living in the ocean as a shark does. The shark doesn't mean to eat people, it was just hungry." After I heard that story, I had a different point of view of the movie. But I admit that I didn't really understand the deeper message of what he was saying until recently. My sister and her husband have 2 large dogs, Milo, who is a husky mix, and Sophie, a labradoodle. And when I was growing up, I was very scared of dogs, so for most of my life, I was not a dog person. I avoided them. But now that Milo and Sophie have been a part of my life for the last 5-6 years, I've come to adore them as my pet niece and nephew. I enjoy spending time with them when I see them and playing with them when I visit their house. And when I'm not around them, I even worry about how they're doing, just like a member of my family. A few weeks ago, I had heard from my brother-in-law that they had caught Milo and Sophie killing and burying a litter of young kittens while their cat mom watched, and the cat mom couldn't do anything. I was so horrified when I heard this story. I was thinking, oh my gosh, how could Milo and Sophie do that? They're so sweet. How could they treat defenseless little baby kittens like that? And my sister and brother-in-law, told us that they tried to do what they could to save the kittens. They called the vet to see if they can bring the cats in and explain that they had caught their dogs attacking the cats, but it was too late. And they felt bad about it, my sister and brother-in-law, but the vet told them that although it's sad, sometimes it can't be helped because they're dogs. And the vet explained that Milo has husky blood in him, and Sophie is part Labrador Retriever. They have instincts to go after prey, and sometimes that just comes out in dogs. In other words, the vet was telling them that behavior is sometimes the nature of dogs. It took me a moment, but I realized that I was holding these dogs to my human standards. Because I consider them a part of my family, and I was holding on to them and their behavior, I was holding them to my expectations of how I think my family members should behave. I was expecting them to know that they shouldn't kill baby kittens. I was expecting them to be sorry for their actions. But I realized I was not treating the dogs as dogs. I was not accepting them as they were, and I was expecting them to be something else. I think that this was the point that my father had about the shark in Jaws. The human characters were being angry at the shark for just being a shark and living in its own environment. In fact, it's the humans who don't live in the ocean, and yet they went to the shark's home and tried to kill the shark just for living. And when I realized this, I realized how true Buddha's words are, that I am someone who thinks that I know what ultimate correct behavior is, and that I am capable, and that I am someone who is capable of not being tolerant and understanding to the true nature of things. Although my examples are about expecting animals to act differently than how they are capable of being, if we transfer this thought to how we treat our fellow people, how many of us have had someone in our lives that we expect to act or behave in a way that is the way that I think is right or best, even if it is not within their personality or capability? How about expectations that we put on ourselves? How about the expectations that we put on life? And when our own actions or the behaviors and actions of others don't fall in line with what I may declare as right, when our expectations do not line up with the reality of a situation, how do we feel? I think that is when we start to suffer from our disappointment, our frustration, and our anger. Completely understanding that we are like this, Amida Buddha established the compassionate vow to carry all beings to nirvana as they are. As they are, or as we are, means that unlike my expectations that I put on myself and others, Buddha is not expecting any of us to, quote unquote, change our stripes, as the saying goes. The vow was established from the beginning with the understanding that there are people such as myself who cannot help but to expect people or animals or life to be a certain way, despite being told that this is not in line with true reality. This is the immeasurable compassion of Amida Buddha, accepting and embracing all beings just as we are. But this doesn't mean that there cannot be or that there is no change within us when we encounter Amida Buddha's compassion. When we encounter this compassion, with this compassion comes the immeasurable wisdom of true reality. We are encountering the wisdom that no matter what we may think of ourselves or others, however we judge ourselves or others, whatever we may expect from ourselves and others, true reality values each and every one of us equally. In addition, Buddha sees within each being the potential of nirvana, of Buddhahood. We are also encountering the wisdom that being supported by this wisdom and compassion, we will always be spiritually okay, no matter what happens, no matter what we encounter in life. When we truly encounter this teaching for ourselves, how can this change the way that we see ourselves and others? How can this change the way we navigate our lives? Because Buddha understands that each of us has our own unique individual experiences of life, and that this change will happen at different paces and in different ways and will be unique to each of us, there is no straight answer to those questions. But whatever inner transformation that naturally happens within each one of us, even if it is small and minute, Amida Buddha does not have any expectations about it and accepts us just as we are, full of ignorance and three poisons. Buddha only sincerely wishes and strongly encourages each of us to turn our hearts and minds towards the wisdom and compassion that is Amida Buddha's vow, so that each of us can find some self-acceptance of ourselves just as we are, and realize our relationship to others and immeasurable life, and be settled about our future nirvana. And we are able to do this by reciting and deeply listening to the calling of Namo Amida Butsu, which embodies this wish. So as I close our message today, I hope that we can all remember that the heart of the vow that is inside Namo Amida Butsu is the rarest and greatest of treasures that we could ever receive. It is a wisdom that is trying to help us change our expectations of life to be more in line with true reality. And it is a compassion that accepts each of us just as we are, not even if, but because I am someone who cannot always accept a shark as a shark or a dog as a dog. I would like to thank you all very much for attending our service today and for allowing me to share my appreciation of this Nembutsu teaching. Let us all continue to reflect on the meaning of Amida's vow and allow its wisdom and compassion to permeate our hearts and minds and serve as a foundation for our lives each and every day. I would now like to conclude by reading a letter written by Master Renyo. I invite you to please put your heads down as we listen to these words of wisdom by Master Renyo. Lay people in the latter age who lack wisdom should deeply rely on Amida Buddha with singleness of heart, entrusting themselves to the Buddha single-mindedly and unwaveringly for their emancipation without turning their thoughts to other matters. However deep and heavy their evil karma may be, Amida Tathagata unfailingly saves them. This is the essence of the 18th vow that assures our birth in the Pure Land through the Nembutsu. Once our heart is thus settled, we should say the Nembutsu, whether awake or asleep, for as long as we live. Humbly and respectfully. Mandai muchi no zaike shijun no nanyo tarang tomogara wa kokoro itotsu ni shite aminamu to fukaku tanomi mairasete sarari yo no kata e kokoro furazu ishi ni ko ni bu tasuke tamae tomo-san shujoma tatoi zaigo wa jinju nari tomo kanarazu mida nyorai wa sukui mashimasu beshi. これすなわち第18の念の上の世がの心なり。核のごとく健常しての上には寝ても覚めても命のあらん限りは。 称名念仏すべきものなり。あなかしこ、あなかしこ。ナモアミダ仏。 Namandavts, 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 namandavts.
Thank you, Reverend Umezu, for your Dharma message this morning. We will now have the reading of Ryogemon. Follow along.
Please join me with hands together in reverence as we recite together Ryogemon, words of understanding of our tradition. We rely upon Amida Buddha with our whole heart for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our imperfect view. There is no doubt that the assurance of enlightenment comes at the very moment we entrust and we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, in joy and gratitude for the Buddha's compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and succeeding masters who have led us to live in this profound teaching, and we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Ryoge Shutsugon. もろもろの造業雑種自力の心を振り捨てて一心に阿弥陀如来我らが今度の一大事のご賞御助け将来と頼み申して候頼む一年の時往生一条御助け事情と存じこの上の称名はご恩報者と存じ喜び申し候この恩断り弔問申し分け候ことご解散承認ご出世のご恩次第相乗の前知識の朝からざるご関係のご恩とありがたく存じ候この上は定めおかせられる恩をきて、一語限り守り申すべく候。ナモ阿弥陀仏。 Namandats, namandap, namandats, namandap, namandats, namandap, namandats, namandap. Namandap,
Okay, so now we have a few announcements. We will be having a Centennial Commemorative Seminar on October the 12th at 2 o'clock. And our guest speaker will be Reverend Melissa Opel from the Buddhist Church of San Francisco. Registration is free, but donations are gladly welcomed. Following day, we will be having our Lady Eshini and Lady Kakushini Memorial Service, 10 o'clock. And again, Reverend Opa will be our guest speaker. She will be speaking in English, and Reverend Umezu will be speaking in Japanese. We have several study sessions. One is on Saturday from 11 to 12 via Zoom. The next one is, or in fact, the last one is October the 5th. And this is led by Reverend Takata. He also has one on Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8, also via Zoom. And the last session is October the 2nd. Reverend Umezu conducts a Buddhism Beyond Mindfulness, and this is gatherings for college students and young adults. It's entitled Accepting Yourself, and her next session will be on October the 12th. She also has a monthly Shoshinge chanting service, and this will also be on the 12th of October at 11 o'clock. Now, for those of you who have young kids or grandchildren, we have our monthly Dharma Kids program, and that's usually the first Sunday of the month, so the next one is October the 6th, so everyone's welcome to that. With upcoming Halloween, there will be a Halloween party. Save the date, which would be October the 27th at 10 o'clock. And again, everyone's welcome to that event. Every third Friday of the month, we have bingo at the temple at 7 p.m. It's a lot of fun. We have some people bring a lot of goodies to snack on. We have free parking. So if you have a free Friday night, please join us for bingo. Now, the temple, we have some apparel items. So we have a temple t-shirt, and if you look up here, this is what it looks like. It's our temple logo. We have crew neck, we have V-neck style. They're $20 each, various styles, or various sizes. And if you're interested in purchasing one, you could either see the office or see me immediately after the service. Today, we have Sunday matinee, so right after the service, there will be a movie in our social hall just across the way. And today, the movie will be Princess Mononoke, and popcorn will be served. So if you have some time, join us for that. Let's see. I also want to talk about our custom-made new happy that was made in Japan for us. It came in a few weeks ago. And for members, it's $80, and for non-members, it's $95. So I'm going to show what it looks like. And this is the back. It has our logo. And then in the front, in Japanese, down the front here, it says West LA Buddhist Temple. And this is our West LA color, so it's beautiful. It's cotton, so it's very nice. And then, as many of you have heard throughout the months, we were talking about our centennial projects, getting ready for our 2026 100th anniversary. And from the beginning of the year, we've been saying, okay, we had a special custom-made nokotsudo or columbarium, which is being made in Japan, and we were waiting for delivery. Well, last month, it finally came. It was installed. It's beautiful. And after the service, you're more than welcome to take a little mini tour. It's located right behind the onaijin, or the altar. And this would be a great opportunity if you are interested in purchasing one. You can purchase it and then pick whichever niche you would like. So with that, I would like to close the service. Thank you again for coming. And Sensei?
Namandats, 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 namandats. Thank you very much.